My name is Darlene. This is your first time coming on to my channel, um, I am bringing this weekly Widow to Widow live to YouTube. I was doing it on Facebook every week inside my private widow community, also called Widow Rising. And we're bringing it to YouTube because, yeah, there are some issues going on with Facebook. Still working through that, but I didn't want to not show up for the widow community. And I believe that, regardless of what happens in our life, like we're always going to find ways to make things work. And this is just me showing up in a different way, in a different platform to prove not only to everyone, but to myself that it can happen, right? Like things are going to happen in our lives. And we just need to learn how to pivot. So welcome again to my YouTube channel. Today's a special day because if you are in the United States, then today is the 27th of the month, 27th of April, and it's my late husband's birth date. And if he was alive today, he would have been 54. And we also got married on his birthday. And so if he was alive today, it would have been 35 years of marriage. And so I chose today intentionally because I wanted to honor Frank. That's my late husband's name. I really wanted to honor him in such a special way by bringing him to this community. So tonight I'm going to take you on a journey of what I call pain to purpose, and how Frank's life and his love became the reason that I do everything that I do over the last almost 11 years. So Frank died on July 17, 2015. And so at that point, we had completed 24 years of marriage. We had actually just celebrated it a couple months prior. We had gone on a trip to Japan with some good friends of ours, and Frank got his final tattoo on his leg completed, and then we just enjoyed being in a place that we both loved so much. And so, hey T, thanks for jumping on. Thank you, honey. Love you so much. Um, and so, I wanted to start off today with actually going into how I was able to move forward after Frank died. Because if you're a widow, or if you've lost someone that you love so deeply, you know how hard it is to even fathom moving forward in life without them. Frank and I got married at the age of 19. We were together since we were 17. And so I had the honor of being his wife his entire adult life. And it's not been easy, you guys. It's not been easy. So, what I really wanted to do first was I wanted to actually start off by reading a prologue from my book. So, this is my book, Love Again. I launched this, I think, back in October of last year. And a big part of this book has a lot to do with the beginning part of my journey with Frank. And so I wanted to read the prologue to you because then you'll really know exactly how I was able to take that first step forward. Fair warning, I do usually get emotional reading this part. The heart never forgets, the body never forgets. And so it's one of the more tender chapters in my book. I was sitting at the end of the dining room table, the place I always took, right next to the chair where Frank would usually sit. My body felt heavy and worn out, and I was exhausted in a way that went beyond sleep. I felt defeated. I felt so alone. And the truth is, I wasn't alone. My kids were there. There were other people in the house. But inside me, It was like standing in an empty cavern. I felt isolated in a way I had never known before, as if the whole world had faded, and I was left suspended in a silence only I could hear. My mind began circling the same desperate questions. We were supposed to grow old together. How am I supposed to live my life without him? Is this some sort of cruel joke? Why, God? Why? The thoughts landed like heavy stones in my chest, each one pressing deeper into despair. I didn't know what the next step could possibly be. I felt trapped, stuck, frozen. I felt so hopeless and empty and disconnected from the whole world. The words that came before anything else were simple. I can't do this. And in that moment, I meant it. I didn't even care what happened to me. All I wanted was to be with Frank. Giving up felt easier than going on. And then in the stillness of that breaking point in my life, something shifted. It wasn't a voice in the air. It was a whisper in my heart. And it was unmistakably Frank's. Soft but strong, comforting yet commanding. I heard him say, "You have to. You have to go on for our grandkids so that they will know me. They will know me through you." His words fell over me like a blanket of warmth. My breath changed and I sat up straighter. Tears came, not the wild, shattering kind, but slow, honest. The ones that wanted him close. I wished more than anything that he was sitting right across from me, reaching out to take my hand. But he wasn't. Instead, I had his words, "Go on through me." That moment did not erase my grief. It didn't take away the fear or make the days ahead simple. What it did was it gave me a thread, a spark, just enough energy to keep going, to make one more choice, to take one more breath, to go on one more day. It wasn't dramatic or triumphant. It was small and tender and very real. A whisper that anchored me back to my purpose. And looking back, I know why that moment mattered so much. Hearing him. Truly hearing him gave me permission to live with him inside of me, rather than trying to end my life because he was no longer here. It reframed the ache from a cruel ending into a responsibility to be the living story he could no longer tell, to keep him alive through the memories, through the words, and the love I would carry forward for our grandchildren. If you're a widow who feels overwhelmed or numb or scared, anxious, Maybe you want to give up too. You feel lost, you feel stuck. I see you. I really see you because I was you. So that's the prologue of my book. Always brings a lot of tenderness to my heart. If you don't have a copy of that book, we'll put the link in the description of this video so that you'll have an opportunity to get it. But it really is about the journey forward for me when I lost Frank. There's so much more in there. But the reason I wanted to read that was because of what I wanted to talk to you guys about today, and that is what I call pain to purpose. In honor of Frank, in honor of his birth date, in what would have been 54 years of life, and in celebration of our love, in what would have been 35 years of marriage. I took that pain and I turned it into purpose. If this is your first time joining me here on my YouTube channel, I'd love for you to subscribe if you're not already subscribed so that you can come back here weekly. Don't forget to hit the bell there so that you can get notifications whenever I'm on or whenever I put in videos. It's going to be a big transition of this YouTube channel. I've had it for a while, and to be honest, I created it to store a lot of the videos that I had shared over time, videos of my grandkids, people in my family, Frank, his voice, seeing him. We didn't have too many because he was always the videographer, the photographer in our family. But whatever we had, we all kind of stored it here. And so that's the reason I created this channel. But my journey has evolved so much over time, and showing up for widows like yourself, if you're a widow here, it's because of you, right? The reason that I do what I do first started off with say my name, tell the stories for the grandchildren, and I do that. But my purpose grew beyond my family, and it grew bigger than myself. And it's all about showing up for the widows and showing you what's possible. So today, as I honor Frank, I want you guys to know that that first message that he gave me all those years ago when I first lost him, that was just the first message. Every time I help a widow and I come on platforms like this, or I work one-to-one, or the ladies that are inside my coaching container, Frank is always at the forefront of that. He's the reason that I do what I do. And it's because of the kind of person that he was in this life. You know, Frank grew up in San Jose. He's Latino, and he had an amazing family. I love Frank's family, and family was big for them too, just like where I come from in the islands. But he was also around a lot of influence that wasn't always so good, and he was always that guy though that knew that he wanted more in his life. I like to call Frank an old soul because he always had this forward vision, and he never followed the masses. He always wanted to create new things, even down to his style. I remember our kids like kind of joking with him about some of the ways that he would choose to dress. And then he would tell them, you know, why do you guys want to follow a trend? Why don't you start the trend, right? He's like, that's what I'm doing. I'm starting the trend. And soon enough, you know, some of the things that Frank would wear, maybe months later, even maybe a year or whatever later, right? The style would come back or whatever. And he would be like, I told you guys, like, I started this trend, right? He would like joke with the kids. So he was always that guy who would always look at how he could make things better, not only for himself and his family, but even the people around him that he cared about, his coworkers, his nieces and nephews, his godchildren. He was always wanting to be a better influence for everybody, and helping people to open up their eyes to the possibility of things. You know, when Frank and I moved to Guam after we got married in California. And when we moved to Guam, it was really because he wanted to raise our son in a different environment than where he was raised. Right? He knew that island life was slower, it was more family oriented. That's what he wanted for our family. And but the first time he came to Guam, before we ever made that decision to move, getting on an airplane, like the way he was like a little kid. He was like a little kid going on an adventure. And quite honestly, that's the way Frank was every time he got on an airplane. And so he taught me how to look at getting on an airplane from a different lens, like always going on an adventure and just loving culture and experiencing different things. And so he was that inspiration to all of us that there's so much out there in the world, so don't get stuck in your little environment. It's a great environment for a lot of you, some of you maybe not. For us, our environment was amazing. Whether we were living in California or living in Guam, we were always around family. But Frank was that guy that always said, always come back, right? Like, you'll always have a place to land, you'll always have a place to call home. But that doesn't mean that you need to get stuck there. Explore the world, get to know different cultures, learn about people, learn about experiences, learn about different foods and the way people do things. And that was just the kind of guy that he was. And so when I think about my journey moving forward, right, I think about how I was going to carry Frank's legacy on. But let me take you guys a step back, because my purpose, although definitely started in that dining room with Frank speaking to my heart, if I'm really, really honest about what gets me out of bed every single day, it was a conversation that I had with God. Because I did not want to participate in my own life, you guys. I am very, very real about that. And so when widows come to me being in such a dark place, I'm not sitting here telling you that I get it from a surface level place. I'm telling you that I get it because I was there. I did not know how to live in my adult world without my husband, because we entered adulthood together, always as one. Where there was Frank, there was Dar. Where there was Dar, there was Frank. And I did not know how to be just Dar. And so to participate in my own life was the scariest thing. And so I remember praying to God and saying, you got to give me a reason to get out of bed, because I don't ever want to get out of bed. I would rather go to sleep and wake up with Frank. And every time I woke up and I wasn't with Frank, I was disappointed. And so him speaking to my heart, Frank, and then God giving me this God-given purpose of giving grief a voice, of walking widows through their journey, from the dark place to the possibility of light and joy and love and whatever's on the other side for you. That was really where the bigger purpose came from, right? So when I think about like those early days, like I want you guys to know, like some of you, it doesn't matter where you're at in your journey. And even if you have women that are a little bit further along than you, and maybe you have been a widow longer than them, one of the things I would love to encourage you to do is not judge yourself, right? Because everybody walks at a different pace. Some want to run. Some are like, I don't want to stay here. And some are like, really slow. I'm not sure that I want to leave from here. It's comfortable. It keeps me closer to my husband. Or maybe I don't deserve, whatever your reasons are. Moving fast, moving slow, and anything in between, you make that perfectly okay for you. Right? And so as I was moving through my journey, I would always think about, like, what are some of the things that Frank would say to me when I was going through like overwhelm or stress or wanting to give up, right? one of the things that he said to me a lot, a lot, was focus on the things that you can control. Stop stressing out on the things that you can't. And I was such a control freak in my life. And so I was always trying to control everything. And this is why I got so stressed out. So his voice would come to me a lot, whether it was just things that I remembered or truly speaking to my heart like he did that day in my dining room. Right? I don't know where you guys are at or how connected you feel with your husband, or if you're a widower and your wife and you're watching this. I know for me in the beginning, my pain was so deep that I honestly felt like Frank was not able to speak to me because my pain was too deep, that it was blocking a lot of us connecting, right, from a spiritual place, if you will. And so now in this life, as in my journey, I hear his voice a lot, but he also sends signs, like not just to me but to our family, and so he does a lot of that stuff, right? Frank died at the young age of 43. It's not up to me to say whether he was not done on this earth yet or that he was too young. Um, but in the beginning, I definitely was angry. I was angry at God for taking him at such an amazing, pivotal moment in our marriage. We were pretty much almost empty nested. Our youngest daughter was the only one left in the house, not married yet, but she was already engaged and, pregnant with her first child. And so Frank and I were so excited about living life, just him and I, right? The kids were good. We raised them well. Um, they were responsible adults, all had, jobs that they could afford to live their own lives. And so I think about that journey in our life when he was alive and all the things that we had planned. Sometimes I would hear widows say, I don't want to do this because this is what him and I planned and it's not fair that he's not here. And I get that. I said a lot of those things too. And this is where turning your pain into purpose, or choosing healing while you're grieving, will help you to have more clarity and allow you to give yourself permission to do some of the things that you were holding yourself back from. And so just know that healing and grief, like, they can hold hands. You don't need to stop grieving to begin your healing journey. It's not possible anyway. So give yourself permission to heal while you still grieve. It's possible. It's how it works. And when you do that, then it can open up so much for you as far as your forward vision and where you want your life to go, where you think your life should go, right? And be open to start dreaming again, to start believing that you are worthy of so much more than just staying stuck right here in your grief. So when I talked about Frank and how he inspired everybody to explore, right? Explore the world, like go and do things, like see different things, like don't just stay stuck in your little neighborhood, in your little community, because the moment he realized that he can get out and how amazing the world was, he was that guy who was he was he probably should have been a travel agent or something around that space, because he loved to inspire people to go and experience things. And unfortunately, our Facebook page has been disabled, and I'm working on getting that back, which is why I'm here on this platform. But I can see that as a silver lining, because I think we're reaching a lot more people being here in a public platform versus in the private widow community inside Facebook. But Frank was the one who created our Facebook page, and so I am very disheartened that I've lost it, because all the memories that are in there. But one of the things that he did so well and people loved was that he was always documenting whenever we would travel somewhere. He would show all of the different places, the sights that we saw, the food that we ate. And it was almost like trying to make people jealous, in a way, just kind of in a joking way, but really it was more about inspiration. Like, hey, you guys, you could do this too, right? Um, and so that part of our life is really what helped me as well to give myself permission to explore the possibility of what can be in my journey forward without him. Just open yourself up to the possibility that maybe there's more out there for you. Be open and give yourself permission to want more, to get more, because you do deserve more. You do deserve more. And so I want to leave you guys with 3 things here. There's so much that I can cover, and we'll do this every single week, and I'll break up some of the topics. But here are 3 things that I would love to leave with you, 3 lessons that I learned on this journey of widowhood in honor of Frank Juarez Garcia III, and the things that he taught me in my own life, in our lives together as husband and wife. I told you the first one, right? Don't stress over things that you can't control. Let go of those things. Start focusing on what you can, and we'll cover that in a different live episode here on Widow Rising. The other thing is choice, right? Comes hand in hand with the things that you can and can't control. You always have a choice, and even inaction is still a choice. So you get to make decisions for yourself in this season of your life. And I know it's not easy, which brings me to the final lesson that I learned, a big one. Took me a while to learn this one, but it's all about community. We are not meant to do this by ourselves. I get that grief can be so isolating, and it's easier to disconnect and not having to explain yourself to people, to be judged, to be told what to do. I totally get that. So it's about surrounding yourself with the right community. This is why I built and created the Chapter 2 movement. It's all about giving the widows a safe place to come to, where they're not going to be judged, where they can be safe to be vulnerable and to share whatever feelings that come up for them in the moment that they're there with us. Community is one of the things that if you do any research, or if you follow any, even mental health professionals, wellness professionals, people that are in that field, you will know that they're now starting to talk about how love and connection is just one of the key things of being healthy in your life. And it was such a big thing that came out during COVID. And I'm going down a rabbit hole real quick, so just I'm not going to stay on this too long, but just to kind of give you an idea of why community is so important. Because during COVID, when we were forced to isolate and like not be around other people, and then you had all of the people in the hospitals that were sick and their loved ones couldn't come and be with them, and they were so lonely and scared to be by themselves, and it really did affect how people healed or not healed. And it's not even just the physical aspects of healing, it's also the mental and emotional space that we are in, especially as grievers. And our body is already impacted enough the moment we lost our loved one. That traumatic experience put us into high alert in our nervous system, and it's probably consistent until you make a decision that I'm going to start my healing journey. And so we were never taught the tools on how to do this, right? So community is so important, and I will also put that in the description on how you can join our community, because me being off of Facebook is very temporary I'm working on getting my original profile back, but I'm also not going to be attached to it for too long. And if it doesn't happen, and I'll create a new one and come back into that community. But that community still exists. It's called Widow Rising. Um, it is just for women. So, men, if you're on here and you're a widower, you could still message me. I will put my email address here, also in the description of this video. I know a few men that are widower coaches, and they have their own community for the men, and I would love to connect you with them. But my community is specifically for women, for widows that have lost their husband, and so we'll put the link here in the description of this video. We'd love for you guys to join us if you're not already in that community. So I hope that this was helpful for you. Thank you for holding space for me, as well as I also made this episode about honoring my late husband Frank, in who he was in this life, with me and our children and the people that loved and cared for him when he was alive. The final thing that I want to leave for you is this quote, and the widows that are in my community know this. I repeat it so many times. It's not even my quote, so I'm not going to take credit for it. I found it online early on in my journey, but it was from an unknown, so it didn't even have a name of a person. Otherwise, I'd give them credit. But it was out there, and I come back to this all the time, especially when I feel like I'm, just a little bit sad, a little bit heavy, a little bit overwhelmed. I come back to this quote, and the quote is, "I aspire to be the widow that my husband would be proud of," and then ... "still. I aspire to be the widow that my husband would be proud of still." I hope that you believe that he's watching over you, because I believe that. And if he is watching over you, what would you like for him to see you doing in your life? What would he say to you right now about what you're doing in your life? Come back to that quote whenever you feel defeated. Right? Because if there's one thing that I know for me in moving through this journey, I always want to make Frank proud. And I do believe that he is proud of me. Not only keeping his memory alive, and all 9 of our grandchildren, the last 6 who never met their papa because they came after he died, all love him and know him in such an amazingly special way. And then here, for all of you, Frank is advocating for you up there so that we can be connected down here together. That's the blessing. All right, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and end this live today. Thank you so much for those of you that showed up, stayed through it. Like this video so that it can be shared to, with more widows that are out there that are maybe looking for community to be a part of. Liking and subscribing will really help for Widow Rising, this YouTube channel, to get out there and help us to connect with more widows. I will be back here again next week. Again, subscribe and make sure you hit that bell so that you'll get the notification when I am on here. All right, you guys, love you all so much. Have an amazing day wherever you're at in the world. Take care.